We're gonna have fun with talking about Ayaka Mariko, so let's not sit back and get on in. Ayaka Mariko is a 16-year-old magical girl. She is 158 centimeters in height, her eyes are blue, and her hair is black. She comes from Shore Ward in Kamihama City. Her soul gem is a teal four-pointed star located on a ribbon at her throat. Her weapon is a toy hammer. At this time of writing, and also doing this video, she has no Doppel or rich. Her wish is to become a magical girl was to be a brighter person, modeled after a friend. I want to become a bright person, just like my friend. Ayaka attends Choro Academy in the 10th grade. Her magical girl element is the dark element and her ability is joke. Not taking another person's action seriously, you can't change an event that's already happened, such as repairing an injury. A magical girl who used to be dark and pessimistic, but now is bright and optimistic, thanks to her wish. Unlike her old self, she has a positive attitude no matter what happens. However, beneath that smile, she sometimes feels guilty about her new, fake outlook on life. The story begins with Ayaka and Shizuku Hozumi fighting a witch. Shizuku says she'll attack the witch from behind. Ayaka says she'll leave it to her partner, prompting Shizuku to think they only just met. The witch launches a surprise attack at Ayaka, causing her to claim it's cheating. Shizuku thinks the witch is more powerful than it looks, and they should retreat. Ayaka disagrees and says it's fine. When Shizuku asks if she has a better idea, Ayaka says she doesn't, as she's not very smart. Shizuku sputters, so Ayaka sounded so confident earlier. Ayaka says it's baseless, but she still thinks that they can beat the witch. Shizuku remarks it's just a gut feeling. Ayaka says it's what her heart is saying, and that Shizuku should leave it to her. She then charges at the witch. The witch is defeated, and Shizuku that Ayaka somehow defeated it though her sheer willpower. Ayaka celebrates her victory by rambling about things like her positive heart and clean hit. Shizuku thinks that Ayaka is keeping the conversation going by herself. Ayaka then suddenly asks, "What time is it?" When Shizuku tells her it's almost 5 o'clock, Ayaka screams and says she won't make it to the Needle Roller live show. Shizuku thinks she's talking about the punk rock band, when Ayaka says she's been waiting 2 weeks to see the show. Shizuku says her where it is and what time is it start. Shizuku explains her imminent magic to Ayaka. Ayaka's special binging, which links two spaces together. Ayaka says with a power like that, Shizuku can get away from oversleeping. Shizuku thinks she's never thought about using it that way. Shizuku says they can make it to the show with time to spare. Ayaka is still freaking out and says the show starts in 15 minutes. Shizuku uses her power, and in a bright flash of light, the girls appear in the front of Figure 8 Hall. The time is 10 minutes until 5 o'clock. Ayaka is happy she wasn't late for the show. Shizuku tells her she should get going. Ayaka thanks her and leaves, but but then suddenly comes back. Ayaka says she wants to offer Shizuku her thanks, and reveals she has a second ticket to go to the show. Shizuku says she's not into punk, but Ayaka says what she's talking about. Ayaka then enters the building and tells Shizuku to come along. It turns out the Needle Roller is a comedy duo. However, Ayaka is the only person laughing at their jokes. Afterwards, Ayaka says she enjoyed the show, while Shizuku is just puzzled. Ayaka asks if Shizuku thought the show was funny. Shizuku thinks it wasn't, but feels she can't lie when Ayaka was just trying to show her gratitude. Before Shizuku can answer, Ayaka says that she doesn't need to worry since everyone has a different breaking point for laughing. Ayaka then asks what Shizuku's name is, pointing out they forgot to introduce each other. The girls do so. Ayaka narrates that their laughter points are different, but Shizuku seems like a good kid. The next day, Ayaka is still laughing about the show. Suddenly, she sees Shizuku walking along the street. She calls out to her, but Shizuku doesn't notice. Suddenly, she runs up to Shizuku, who is startled and says as much. Ayaka says she's the one who was startled since Shizuku didn't notice her. Shizuku apologizes, but Ayaka says she's supposed to snap at her as if they were a comedy duo. Ayaka then says Shizuku was spacing out and asking her if something bad happened. Shizuku asks if Ayaka could tell by looking. Ayaka says Shizuku has a sad look on her face. She asks if some old guy had been bothering Shizuku and asks if she can go after him. Shizuku says Ayaka is moving the conversation too fast. Shizuku claims she was a trivial worry that should be forgotten when she becomes a magical girl. She explains that she feels anxious about the future, feeling like she doesn't have one or is disappearing. Shizuku says that when she fights witches, she can forget her worries, but afterwards, she goes back to being a regular schoolgirl and worries comes back again. Shizuku says it's no big deal, but Ayaka says that being anxious and worried is a big deal. Shizuku is silent and then thanks Ayaka. Ayaka decides she's going to cheer Shizuku up by making her laugh real loud. She then gives her full power one-hit killer goof, which consists of Ayaka saying sushi roll. When Shizuku doesn't react, Ayaka says she remembers that Shizuku has a different laughter point than most people. She then tries something more surrealist, saying crap sushi. Shizuku thinks she is startled by how unfunny that was. Ayaka then tries another gag. 5 years later, Ayaka still tries to make Shizuku laugh. Shizuku thinks she needs to let Ayaka quit and decides to laugh at her joke. Ayaka makes a Japanese pun about the proverb, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Monkeys and somehow adds a boss monkey at the end to it. Shizuku fakes laughter and says it's funny. Ayaka sees right through it and says her joke wasn't any good. Shizuku thinks she needs to practice smiling or laughing more. Ayaka says that Shizuku's laughing point is just too different. Shizuku thinks that as long as Ayaka isn't too down about it, this all can finally end. Ayaka wonders if Shizuku doesn't understand the construction of jokes. She then goes on to explain the joke in detail, explaining how it is based off the proverb, the pun, and then since it ended off with boss monkey, which explains the repetition joke. At that, Shizuku suddenly breaks out into laughter. Ayaka says then there wasn't anything to laugh at, but Shizuku says it's because Ayaka launched it into her expression so seriously. Ayaka says that Shizuku's laugh points is too different, but as long as she got her to laugh, it's good enough. Shizuku says it has been a long time since she had laughed that much, and thanks Ayaka for cheering her up. When she says this, Ayaka narrates that she reminded her of Yu-chan, an old friend she was close with. Yu-chan also thanked her about other people for cheering them up. In a flashback, two students discuss how they feel Yu is saving them by how brightly she shines. Yu says that exchanging and seeing relies on them when she's feeling down herself. Yu then suddenly notices Ayaka and asks if she can come over. Ayaka narrates that she and Yu lived in the same neighborhood and were close friends since they were kids. Ayaka felt that Yu was always smiling and that the space around her was brighter because of it. Ayaka can't count the number of times that brightness helped her. She compares Yu to the sun, always sparkling in the center of a crowd. Back in the present, Shizuku and Ayaka bid each other goodbye. Ayaka thinks she was thanked just like her friend. She narrates that she really changed into someone like the friend she admired. Later, Shizuku invites Ayaka to her family's cafe. When Ayaka arrives, she says welcome as a part joke. Shizuku welcomes her, prompting Ayaka to say Shizuku should have scolded her for saying welcome when she's the customer. Shizuku apologizes for not finishing the joke, though she can't imagine anyone could do so. Ayaka then brings a cream soda, which she claims was kicked out by overpopulation. Ayaka explains that coffee floats, cola floats, and orange floats are called just that, but cream soda isn't a float, even though it is also a drink toppled with ice cream. Therefore, according to Ayaka, it got punched out from overpopulation. Once one of the customers gives an annoyed grunt at Ayaka's antics, Shizuku asks Ayaka to lower her voice. She explains her family runs a traditional coffee shop, and so most of her customers are older people and dislike loud noise. Ayaka says that if she starts yelling all of a sudden, the old customer might have a heart attack, prompting another annoyed grunt. Shizuku and Ayaka apologize, then Shizuku starts cracking and tells Ayaka to use her indoor voice. Ayaka says she isn't sure how to do that, and Shizuku tells her not to overthink it. Shizuku then admits that she is jealous of Ayaka. Ayaka asks if she wants to make an old man angry too, but Shizuku explains how Ayaka is always endlessly bright, so much that she draws other people into it. Shizuku calls it a power to get tangled up with other people. She then tells Ayaka she thinks she's amazing. Ayaka is silent for a moment, and then says she's not someone worth praising like that. She says she doesn't deserve to have people jealous of her or say she's amazing. Shizuku says it isn't like Ayaka to say such pessimistic things. Ayaka is about to explain, but then catches sight of other customers. Shizuku asks Ayaka to wait a minute for her to clean up. She explains her mother will be coming back soon, and asks Ayaka if she can wait outside. The girls then head to the park, where Ayaka explains her story. Before she became a magical girl, she wasn't a bright person, and in fact, she was Yu's total opposite, even though they got along really well. However, because they were so different, other girls talked about them behind their backs. They called Ayaka a doll or Yu's shadow character. In a flashback, Ayaka hears the things before Yu arrives and says she's making a gloomy face again. Yu offers to listen if Ayaka has something wrong. Ayaka apologizes, but Yu says that Ayaka cheers her up, and when she's down, so they are even. However, Ayaka can't accept that they are even, as they are always getting cheered up by Yu. She knows that other schoolgirls didn't have ill intentions, but they said she was nothing like Yu. Ayaka wondered how she could change to be more like her. This feeling grew over time, and then one day she was attacked by a witch and met Kyubei. Since a witch was attacking her, Ayaka had no choice but to be a magical girl. Thinking of Yu and that she was going to be a magical girl anyway, She wished to be a bright person, just like her friend. Back in the present, Ayaka says that sometimes she is annoyed by people being noisy. Sometimes she says silly things and then laughs, and sometimes she thinks her cheering people up. She claims that none of those things are the real her. Ayaka says she's happy just when people feel better. But when Shizuku praises her, she starts to feel guilty. Ayaka says she's just a cheap imitation of her friend, and therefore shouldn't take all the praise and gratitude she gets. Shizuku is silent for a moment, and then brings up one of the performances from Needle Roller. She explains she heard that the performer is a very quiet person in private. Ayaka is shocked since the performer always tells his joke loudly. Shizuku says the performer wanted to change his self to an active in his profession. Ayaka says she didn't know that. Shizuku asks if Ayaka is now disappointed in the performer. Ayaka says she isn't because it doesn't matter what the performer is like off stage, and the happiness she gets from watching him isn't fake. Shizuku explains that whatever a person does, they never stop being themselves. She claims that just like the performer, Ayaka changed because she wanted to. She then asks for the name of Ayaka's friend. Ayaka says she calls her Yi-chan, and Shizuku says it's the first time hearing that name. Shizuku doesn't know who Yu is, and it wasn't Yu who encountered her, it was Ayaka. Ayaka thinks Shizuku who chuckles. Ayaka says that right now she is her true self. She thanks Shizuku for cheering her up, and Shizuku thinks that Ayaka cheers her up more. As thanks, Ayaka gives her another ticket to the Needle Roller show. Ayaka explains she applied for 2 tickets because she didn't want to miss out on getting one. She says she was surprised she got both tickets and assumes that they had some left over. Some reason. Shizuku thinks she knows what the reason is. The incompletion being that the group isn't popular enough to sell out their shows. Ayaka invites Shizuku to the show, but Shizuku says she has to pass. But Ayaka says that Shizuku has to be the fan of the Needle Roller if she knew so much about the performer. Shizuku thinks that the show was so unfunny that she looked it up to the performer just to find out why he had become the performer in the first place. Before Shizuku answers, Ayaka says it's decided that the show will be at 5 o'clock. Shizuku guesses it will be fine. Ayaka narrates that she won't lose to anyone when it comes to the brightness. Ayaka's ability isn't quite explained. Her ability is called joke. We know joke means a thing that someone says to cause amusement or laughter, especially a story with a funny punchline. But in imaginary chord, for Ayaka, what we do know about the ability was said in her general info. Not taking another person's action seriously, you can change an injury even the event happened, such as preparing injury. What this could mean, maybe she can make herself or another not feel about taking their actions seriously and just joking about it. It cannot change an event that has happened already, like repairing an injury. So, making sense, she has gotten an injury, no matter how bad it is or how cries of pain. This ability makes you think about and joke along with saying like, oops, that's gonna leave a mark, or that's what makes me think of how her ability works in my opinion. Her name Ayaka means colorful flower, color for summer, and color for mist. But her last name is Ball and Child, respectfully. Maybe together it will be Ball for Colorful Children. Fact 1. Her illustrator is Afro, who drew Prolomagia Homura Tamura. Fact 2. Ayaka's Halloween outfit is the same as the one Sayaka wears in its Halloween promotional image. Fact 3. Ayaka does Mansai, which is a traditional stand-up comedy act involving a duo. Tsukomi, straight man, and Boke, funny man, they tell jokes that involve misunderstandings, puns, and other odd gags that are used often in see now drilled Ayaka, or often seen being drilled out by Ayaka. Fact 4. Ayaka's Japanese voice actor is Ari Ozara, who you may know as Nashida and Kamugi in Your Lie in April, Umatan in Etemon, Puppy in Monster Museum, Kumari Ebizuzawa in School Live, Aru in Flying Witch, Rui Nagata in Working, Fa Loser in ID 0, Benito Light in Land of the Luscious, and also Connie in Promised Neverland, and a bunch more other worlds which I don't have time to say in this info. And that is Ayaka Mariko. Next time we'll be talking about Big Sister, Himi Kamau. So see you next time.